Lochanhully House came to the museum about 10 years ago. It was originally built in the 1920s by two brothers who had come home from World War I, and they built it for their parents. They bought trees from Seafield Estate, 90 odd trees, and brought back to the site where they sawmilled it into planks of wood, which were used to build both inside and outside the house, making it a very unusual construction.
Well, I'm Duncan Rose, and it was my grandparents that lived here originally. And my grandfather, he was born in 1868, and my father, he was born 1900. He was the second oldest of the family, and him and Uncle Joe built it in the early 20s and that. Then when I was young, I was brought up in Duncan. And when I was about 11 or 12, I used to be put on the bus at 9 o'clock in Duncan and spend the weekend with Uncle Joe, and in the summer I would be helping him digging the peats. Because he was a diabetic, and if you'd seen the food he had, you'd have porridge and an egg in among it, and the egg was like somebody's watery eye, and I'd eat that. But we didn't know anything different because that's the way we was brought up, and we used to even skin the rabbits' heads, and when I think of it now, we've beaten the eyes, and people wouldn't, nobody would believe things like that.
Well, the rugs were made largely out of necessity because you need rugs as part of your floor covering, and they were very expensive to buy, and so people did make their own, and in order to make their own they reused anything from flour sacks to hessian sacks, and then they cut up the pieces of material from things like people's jumpers and jackets and any kind of woolen, often woolen in the old in the sort of pre-war times, old blankets. What I'll do is I'll get my hook and you go as close to the next one along as you can in order to make it fasten in place. But for the purposes of this, I'll do it in the middle just to show you. So you push the hook in and you make quite a big hole. So you're pushing it in to about halfway down. And then underneath, you're catching hold of the piece of cloth, and then you pull it through. Like that. In Lochanhully, a brand new rug, I would imagine, might well start off in a bedroom, just on either side of the bed, because it wouldn't get a huge amount of wear and tear. But then once it did start to show some signs of wear, it would come into the living room, and it would go in front of the hearth. And then once it was really past it, as far as that was concerned, it would probably go maybe by the back door and be a sort of an entrance rug. And then after that, it would go to be the dog's bed or out altogether, thrown away. So that would be the process in this particular building, yes.
This was Uncle Joe's bedroom. It wasn't as glamorous as this now. It was just all bare boards. Yes. And Uncle Joe was sometimes, instead of plasterboard, it was just boards that ran that way. And behind the boards it was filled in with sawdust for insulation.
That's right.
And he started papering it with old newspapers. Then he would give it a coat of whitewash and things like that. And it looks all right now.
Yes,
But I remember I said to you when I was awful young, I had to come through and kiss my granny in the coffin was here. And
oh, right.
I had to kiss her in the coffin and
say goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the funeral, I had it just out in the garden.
Uh-huh. So was she buried in Carbridge?
Aye, just in Duthel.
Oh, right, yes.
Just outside the church door. But no, we had some good times, and then I served my apprenticeship as a joiner with my dad, and if he wasn't busy, one of the other apprentices, myself, would be sent up to help Joe cut the peats again, which was about a mile up behind the house. And we used to get fed up and we'd be having fights with the wet peats. He used to give us hell for making a mess of his peat bog and